everyone. It is Kristi. It is Sunday, and it is time for Weekend Winters. I hope you all are doing well. I am again. I'm like I under prepare. I have. Oh, that's a little bit better. Realize I need to like sort things out. I got going on Twitter and organizing things. I wanted to find something for you guys, which I managed to do. But as a consequence, I'm trying to still sort out my lighting. I'm a little bit overexposed on this side, so yeah, if I just lean back a bit. Yeah, that'll be good enough. I'm super overexposed, am I not? All right, I'm gonna bring this down. All right, so anyway, how are you guys doing? Hope everything for you is going well. Let me go ahead as well and pick up. First, I'm gonna move my mic. That's gonna help with the lighting. And I'm gonna get the chat up, say hi to some people, and then we're gonna dip into a PragerU video. And we're going to, oh, wow, Douglas Murray. This guy's annoying. I've heard the name before, and I know that he's a bag of poo, because I'm trying to monetize this stuff occasionally, so I can't say nasty, like really foul things about him. But this is garbage. This video is complete propaganda. Yeah, so let me, now I'm irritated. I'm so busy trying to find the, bingo card. Yeah, I got up. That's a little bit better. I was really underlit before, so now I'm trying to raise up the thing that it stood on so that I get a bit more even lighting. So let's see who is here in the chat today. Let me go ahead and share with you guys the screen so you can see it as well. And then you can tell me if I'm doing anything wrong. All right. Lucky Wanderer. Oh yeah, let's go up to the top. Who is here? Lonely Wolf. It's been ages. Thank you for stopping by. Larvae Man, I'm sorry I got the times wrong. Again, Sunday. I always put the show to start at noon. And oh, it's very exciting. It's snowing in Germany right now. I'm half tempted. I don't know that it'll pick up very well. It mostly just get blown out. But it is snowing, and so that's very exciting. So I hope you're able to stay around. Curious Adams, why are you up at 2 o'clock in the morning? Nil Magnifico, I was early and I fixed it, so apologies for that. Up all night playing Dungeons and Dragons, yes I was, to be fair. And I'm very excited because in the next session we're going to fight a vampire and probably get our butts kicked. All right, Lonely Wolf already said hello to, who else is in the chat? Lucky, the Lucky Wanderer, Trans Gamer Girl, how you doing? Po Mama said, also good to see you. Ali Ritz, welcome, hello, greetings, glad you're here. I think that's pretty much everyone. Color Connection as well. So thank you, everyone. Oh, that's just the top chat. I need to sort this out so it's a live chat. I don't miss a thing. Don't want to miss a thing. I'm going to do like, oh, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing my coffee. Oh, okay, hold on. I have to reach out. I can't do this without my coffee. I can't handle Douglas Murray without coffee. So this is just a moral imperative that has to happen now. So, gripping, falling. Okay. Clearly it was too full. Clearly it was way too full. God, I love coffee. I'll just clean that up later on. It's fine. You guys don't have to watch me tidy up my own house. Anyway, we're going to watch some PragerU here, because honestly, it is, yes, no. Yes, no, it's amazing. So, yeah, that was it. I had, before we got going on air, I have, yeah, we're going to do logical fallacy bingo card. That's what I was looking up. That made me late. And which one did this one looks, no, it was the one, oh yeah. Was that the one? I think it was. Is there a standard one? Just a standard, okay, it's the same thing. All right, do you get fresh ones every time you try? Or is it the same one? All right, it's the same one. Let's use this to fact check some Douglas Murray crap, because I tried. I honestly tried to listen to this through, and I got about halfway through both times, I tried to listen to it before I got so frustrated because I had to debunk so much crap. So we're going to listen and debunk some crap together. Yeah, it's amazing how these people twist everything. And I made this comment on Twitter that if their arguments are so great, why do they have to keep lying about what people on the left do and think? And it's easy enough to expose them for the liars and manipulators and propagandists and defenders of human slavery and other crimes against. Basically, they're defending crimes against humanity. Priority 76. Why is Douglas Murray? Precisely. Absolutely precisely. And there's going to be so many ways to just really bring this down, or like really expose this as the complete lie that it is. So how can we best set this up? I guess what I'll do is okay. The challenge is the size. Okay, this changes. All right. So what if I do my very bad British accent, what if we were to swip these guys around, put y'all, say y'all with a British accent? Can we, I wanna resize this to make it, it's basically just this size. All right. So, oh, now you're being really futzy. Okay, we're just gonna have to kind of do this in a uncomfortable way. Which is, I want you guys to be able to see the bingo card, right? And then there's all, yeah, if we're going to sacrifice anything, let's sacrifice the size of the video here for these lot. Default view? No, I think I want the theater mode, but I'm going to just make it smaller. No, shut up, Douglas. We're not ready for you yet. We're not ready to watch your crap yet. I will reduce this down because you just need to hear them. You don't actually need it. They're not that important. They have no actual points that you really need to engage. Here's this. I don't think this will make any difference if I size that, right? Other than to make it longer. Okay. And now I just want to make sure you guys can see the bingo. So in the chat, you guys can read that all right? I hope you can. So it says, let's just go through them. Strawman argument, appeal to fear, post hoc rationalization, single cause fallacy. I don't even know all of these. I have to be a little bit honest on that. Confusing cause and effect, erroneous appeal to emotion, red herring, bandwagon, false analogy, appeal to nature, fallacy of division, two wrongs make a right, free space, either or fallacy, appeal to tradition, slippery slope, technical jargon, sweeping generalizations, ad hom, begging the question, fallacy of the middle ground, hasty generalization, false dilemma, shifting the issue, and wrong direction. See you. Yeah, this is the best I can do, y'all. Maybe next time I'll actually be more professional and sort this stuff out a little bit earlier. But as it currently stands, no! What did you do, Kristi? Oh no, that's okay. I know how to fix this. I think it's Control-Alt-Tab to open the last one. No! All right, let's see. Logical fallacy. See, we're not going to dink around with this too much more. It's a waste of time. It's not entertaining. But I do want to get it up. Ha ha ha. That's what she... Okay. Or he said. Or they said. All right, there you go. There's the... Just going to leave this as is and see how many we can get. Now, like I said, I don't know any of them. God blimey. I don't know all of these. So if you guys have a good argument for why one is one way, why it can be a logical fallacy thing, I will entertain your arguments. This is an interactive show that's going to last 1 hour because I have to prep for my players. There's going to be drama in my game tonight, and they don't. Well, Trans Gamer Girl is here. You can probably imagine there's going to be some drama after the attempted arson list. So I got to sort that out. So we can only go an hour, y'all. Righty-dighty. All right, let's get going with The Defense of Genocide by a racist white guy. And let me just, before I start, also check the audio. I need to have that on so you guys can see and hear, which people generally like when you watch a video, I've found. And yeah, let's get ready to debunk some absolute crap. Here we go.
What kind of future do we have?
Oh, all right, here we go.
What kind of future do we have if we destroy our past?
I'm just going to put this out here. You can't destroy the past. It literally cannot be destroyed in terms like it exists or it passed into existence. The question is, what kind of stories do we tell ourselves about the past? And up until this point in history, the people who got to decide what version of history we learn are the same people who benefited from the exploitation of women and people of color. So the question is, why should we accept without critique a version of the past presented by those who have a vested interest in covering up their crimes and the things they did in order to justify holding on to their power and their wealth in an unjustified way now? Begging the question. Yay! See? There we go. Begging the question. I wish I could do a little tick on this, but I can't because it's just a PDF. So I'll have to keep track. I keep track. I have a pen and I have some paper, although it's not easy to read. Again, reaching. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, well done, Trans Gamer Girl. Yeah, people, as I said, I need help with this. Shoot, we've got begging the question. Right, see how many we can get in one video. All right. So that's the question. The past is not a given thing that's objective. It is constructed, and it can deliberately leave out. So I don't know how to use a markup on just a web page. Poem on this side. Sorry. Destroying our past, telling it like it was. Yeah, exactly. If you selectively put together individual facts and you ignore or only give, footnote other things, then what you're doing is constructing a version of the past. And that's what we've had up until this point. And now people who've been the ancestors and the inheritors of unjustified hierarchies, of genocides, of having their lands and property and lives stolen from them, want to tell their people's history or their group's history from their perspective. And that's what's really challenging about this, that these like neocon white men really find, and women to be fair, find so threatening, is that there's been a story constructed that you are a good person despite having wealth that comes from slavery. You're a good person despite benefiting from a power structure that stole other people's lands and appropriated their assets and turned them, into, strangers in their own land. But you're okay. They want validation for unjustified hierarchies, because to admit that they have wrongly accepted this wealth and power and benefit and privilege would make them question like their own goodness in place in the world, I think. Anyway, that's a little bit of speculation. But hey, Lonely Wolf 41 today. Happy birthday. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. That's me singing happy birthday to you in German. Is that what you wanted for your birthday? I'm trying to figure out also where the camera should go so I'm properly centered. There you go. Appeal to fear and emotion. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Absolutely. So let me go ahead, because we were only 6 seconds in. Let's get going on this.
Has anyone who has pulled down a statue of Churchill, Lincoln, or Columbus?
All right. So, I'm a I am unaware of anyone pulling down a statue of Lincoln. I know people objected to it. Torn down. Okay, well, it's removed. Let's see here. A replica of a controversial statue of Lincoln standing over a newly emancipated black man. Again, racist AF. You know, here is the enlightened white man, and here is the almost beast-like person of color who needs his, graciousness and the white man's burden. Come on. Yeah, you don't really show people are emancipated by having them kneel at the feet of their former masters. Right? Let's see. Yeah, an online petition called for the statue's removal in July. The controversial emancipation group statue has been taken down. It wasn't pulled down. It wasn't pulled down. What? Douglas Murray, y'all lying. You're a liar. Liar, liar, pants on fire. So, no, I don't see any statue of... portrait. Okay, there's one. Oregon. Let's see. Protesters topple statues of Lincoln at Portland. Okay, so you got one. Amid a day of range of Indigenous Peoples Day. Some protesters were trying to pull down statues with a chain. Resting on its head with spray paste. Okay. It was not immediately clear whether the statues were defaced by protesters involved in the march. So we don't know who did it. Okay. We managed to find one instance, but people didn't declare their intentions at that point. So we don't know why it went down. So I'm going to put this, if the reference was the Lincoln Emancipation thing, right? That would be one thing. If you want to say that there was a statue of Lincoln removed and you don't know who did it or why they did it, then, you're basically, I think it's like an appeal to motive fallacy, which isn't on here. Maybe appeal to fear. Strawman argument, I think. Should we just go with, in this case, strawman? Because they're attributing motives here to people that they have no evidence for. So, unless you can get the people who actually pulled down the statue some quotes or something, you're not going to know why. Okay, heading on. Okay.
Thought to ask themselves this question. I doubt it.
Oh, also, this is just a ridiculous. What kind of future do we have if we destroy our past? Well, what kind of future do we have if we keep promoting genocide and the normalization of human slavery? Sweeping generalization? I'll take that. Yeah. This is a better question. I mean, one, the past can't be destroyed. What we're destroying is a certain narrative about the past that's been used to support racism, sexism, unjustified hierarchy, and to whitewash genocide. To whitewash genocide. So what kind of future do we have if we continue to tell ourselves these lies? Sweeping generalization. Oh, you guys are so good. We should do this more often. And I see Lonely Wolf has got Slippery Slope. Yep. I love this. You guys are doing great. The question is, what kind of future we have if we don't keep protecting racist, murderous, genocidal, property-stealing white man from moral accountability? What kind of future do we have then? When we celebrate mass murderers and enslavers and genocidal policies?
Themselves this question. I doubt it.
Isn't that, just going, I doubt it, isn't that a sort of, is that begging the question? Is that another begging the question situation? All right.
The presumption that we can stand in perfect judgment over the lives of historical figures is not merely foolish and...
Oh, that's not what we're doing. This is again. I know this is why I didn't get very far. I am not claiming to stand in perfect judgment on historical figures. What I'm identifying are amoral, immoral, anti-democracy, anti-humanism, anti-egalitarian positions of the past, and acknowledging that those things were wrong rather than covering them up. So, that's what's going on here. The question is, do we keep whitewashing genocide? And why should we? Why should Americans who grow up with a history of slavery not have their history heard? Like, why shouldn't those stories be told? Why is it so offensive to you to actually use historical methods and not examine the lives of the great white men whose plantations were producing wealth for them under stolen labor and stolen lives, while they debated their own rights in very fancy rooms being waited upon? Why is that so why is it threatening to you to look at the lives of the people that they exploited in order to be able to get their wealth and exercise their power? That is part of history too. And it's an under-researched area of history. It's an under-taught area of history. Black Americans in America, Black Americans have a history of slavery that is not properly taught, not properly integrated. Appeal to tradition. Ooh, is that a I see false analogy, hasty generalization. All right, let's say hasty generalization. False analogy. I think he comes up. Oh, we're gonna come up to false analogy when he makes a kid an executioner. So analogy. And what did Transcriber Girl say? Appeal to tradition. That one I don't know so much, but I'll have to look that up because I'm sure that we've always done it that way. It sounds like a good straw man. Yep, we've got that. History is not getting narrow; it's getting expanded with more stories. Precisely. As opposed to, again, a very white men writing about white men. Occasionally, we have other people telling their own stories. And those people actually have a moral justification to claim that they were wrong. And that makes people who want to lionize the slavers very uncomfortable. Bruce writes, what present are we serving if we don't remove, yes, the context, the lies, and represent these as they're basically, exactly. What are we doing for our current day if we don't acknowledge these sins of the past and repudiate them? Yeah, good point. Say it in a plummy English accent. Does it make it more plausible? It just makes you a racist with a plummy accent. Okay. Misdirection. All right. I'll put that one down, Bruce. Thank you. Let's keep going because it gets hilarious.
Unfair. It's dangerous. Consider what the statue destroyers are in effect saying. They are saying that people in history should have known what we know.
No, what they're saying is, I would say it's more accurate. As someone who supports taking down these statues, don't tell me what I think, Douglas Murray. Because you're wrong. We can choose right now who we celebrate. And we have inherited statues from people who benefited from and perpetuated division, the subjugation of humanity, the marginalization of women, racism, Jim Crow, all of these segregationist policies. They gave us those statues. Those were imposed upon us. Those Confederate statues are being imposed upon me. My history, as the meme goes, is destroying the Confederacy. So why should I have to tolerate your treasonous celebrations today just because some racists and the KKK members in the 1920s put it up? We don't have to keep these things that we inherit. Every generation has the right to examine itself and say what it wants to say about itself and its history. And I don't want my public tax dollars or anyone's to go to celebrating slavers and human rights violators. So it's not that we're judging ourselves by what we celebrate today. And if we celebrate human slavery, how can we claim to be moral? The fact that it happened in the past doesn't make it right. So again, anyone else has public statues are not history. Yes, thank you, Katsumi. Public statues are political statements of wanting to shape the collective memory. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Priority 76 says he's got the smug expression of someone huffing their own farts. Yes, he's his own fluffer. Nil says, Bravo. They may not have known better, but we do. Linda Danvers. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of indoctrination. Like the whole reconstruction of the Civil War with the Southern perspective is indoctrination, is propaganda. And so people, when they grow up in that, they accept it as face value. And then only later on might they have some opportunities to have that challenged. I feel like this is a red herring because it misses the point that it was known at the time that slavery was immoral. Even Jefferson said it. Thank you. Yeah, okay, I'll take that one. Red herring. Red herring. You guys are gonna get bingo. We'll have to do bingo cards next time. Get my stuff organized a bit better. Moreover, plenty of people opposed slavery and racism back in the day. Most slaves were opposed, yes, obviously, but they didn't get a choice in how the taxpayer money was spent because they didn't get a chance to vote because they weren't considered legal citizens or people. First Gulf War, Saddam used old rockets to melt to make a statue of him from the U.S. missiles. Yeah. Bruce writes, what we know now is context to the statues. Precisely. I mean, Black people's history was suppressed for centuries in America. Their stories were not told. Nil says, I can't talk today. Not to mention the ahistorical imposition of those monuments. Exactly. Don't impose your Confederacy treason on me when my history is the destruction of those things. Nil writes, not to mention the, we got that one. Katsumi says, in the Second Gulf War, they removed the statue, sent it back to New York, and melted down the base for Ground Zero. Well, because, Iraq had nothing to do with it. Furry statues for today for historians of tomorrow, writes Lonely Wolf. And Bruce says, are we to ignore what we know or suppress it for what? Yes, exactly. There's, yes, this sort of false consciousness. It is whitewashing guilty white people's consciences, or their memories, their sense of responsibility. If you just focus on what Churchill did during the Second World War, then you can not have to deal emotionally with the fact that of what he did in India, and that was a crime against humanity, was it not? And people don't want to have this cognitive dissonance of how can someone I admire be evil, done evil things. I don't want to think about the evil things, so I'm just going to pretend like we don't have to. For the racists of the world, like Douglas Murray, they want us to baby-proof them from any emotional accountability for their unjustified wealth and positions in society. And that's not our job. Yeah, the Daughters of the Confederacy was a propaganda movie. All right, so we're 33 seconds in, you guys. We need to get going. I'm only going to go for an hour today because I want to get going on my D&D prep. So we need to get through this, and I'm doing worse than Kevin right now.
That's tantamount to saying they should have known the future. This is, of course, absurd.
No, what we're saying is we don't want to replicate this immoral worldview in our modern day by celebrating people who committed crimes against humanity. It's not that hard. We have a choice of who we put statues up to. And our taxpayer dollars go to fund those things. So why should I continue to pay for something that old racists did to make themselves feel better? Hey, Sib Wolf, welcome here.
Yet more and more people believe it.
Citation needed. Like literally just putting a pie chart getting bigger. It's not a source. Just making a declaration without evidence, without like citing Gallup or Pew or whatever else. You liars! Oh my God, Douglas Murray, you're so crap. You're so crap.
Why? Simple. It's what they're taught. It is the fruit of an education system that long ago prioritized empathy over facts.
No, it's prioritizing the basis of, well, at least in the American system, I would like to see if our nation's norms are liberty and justice for all, and that comes from a sense of empathy. That empathy comes from an assumption that all human beings are created equal. We all have equal dignity and worth, regardless of whatever our abilities or disabilities, our body shape, our mental proficiencies or not. We have a basic common worth, first as human beings. And then on top of that, you layer citizenship, or at least the protection of law and order if you're a resident, which should be treated equal. And if you hold these values now, you can compare them with the past and look at where we failed. If you say that liberty and justice for all was something that was practiced when George Washington had slaves, when Thomas Jefferson was exploiting sexually a woman he owned, how can you say that is liberty and justice for all? You can't. You have to condemn it. And that's what we're doing. We're separating out the abhorrent, the genocide, the crimes against humanity from the aspirations and contrasting them. And in this way, we know we make progress.
That believes the ultimate point of history is not to learn lessons from it, but to judge it from...
Again, citation needed. You're just talking crap. Yeah, we have to be able to critically analyze the moral progression over time. I don't understand. Yes, it's not just about learning how great Churchill was or learning how great Lincoln was. It's about understanding where it lies relative to where we are and how far we still are from those ideals that we set ourselves. All right, so I see Lucky Wanderer. This is an either or fallacy. Like we can't have both empathy and better facts. Oh, I need a new column, you guys. Kick it, you're killing it. Either or fallacy. Love this. See if I missed anything. So in public education, where you're able to hear an array of different voices from the past is indoctrination, but public historical statues are not? Yeah. Precisely. People should get their history knowledge from public statues. Yes. Hey, Linda. How you doing? Learning through public statues, he means, yes. Learning is not merely admiring. Yes, thank you, Linda. That's a very good point. And this is what critical theory really, why it strikes fear into the hearts of those who rely on unjustified hierarchies. Because if critical theory, it really does, I think, at the heart of it, it's an analysis of power. I think Foucault talked about this as well as like analyzing power, I think, in a way that was quite new. But all of critical, it's not all of critical, so critical theory can mean a lot of things, but one that is quite common is an analysis of like the distribution of power. Who has it, who doesn't? Intersectionality looks at the way that, within a system, you are advantaged or disadvantaged, you're empowered or disempowered, right? So, we are not just blank slates that are there to accept the narrative that all of these white guys who committed crimes against humanity were actually not that bad. That's not the purpose of history. To judge it and analyze it and critique it, actually, that's what education is meant to do, and that's why they find it very, very threatening.
From the preordained left-wing conclusions about such ill-defined concepts as social justice.
It's like social justice is not that ill-defined when it comes to like a basic idea of justice is fairness and social means society. So what you want is levels of fairness in a society. That's not ill-defined. What's ill-defined is your claim that things keep getting bigger without any sources.
It's equity and tolerance.
Equity and tolerance. Wow, tolerance is ill-defined. Only when you want to stay intolerant in systematic and racist ways, in ways that would make you compete. White man, white woman. And equity, again, not that difficult a concept. I mean, just because you don't want to understand it doesn't mean it can't be understood.
Apart from breeding ignorance, this kind of education invites the student, the child really, to be judge, jury, and executioner over issues that they, and increasingly their teachers, know little or nothing about.
All right, again, Citation needed. You're talking such crap here. What you're saying is they don't indoctrinate our students to whitewash history and lionize people who committed crimes against humanity. That's actually not the purpose of history. And how the executioner? How this is so ridiculous. Students, how are students supposed to execute people who are dead? You mean think critically about them? Not just accept without any reflective analysis that they were good guys and they were heroes and we should just ignore all of the millions of people whose lives were destroyed? I think all of this is coming from the perspective of those who exploited others in order to get things. He's not thinking about what is the perspective of history from someone whose ancestors were enslaved. No, that doesn't, those people are silenced. Because how many monuments do we have in America to those who were murdered wrongly under slavery? How many monuments do we have to women who were brutalized and had their children taken away from them under slavery? Well, what kind of monument do we have teaching people that if you were a black woman and you were made to have sex with a white man, your child, if a daughter, would be a slave for her entire life because of your black ancestry, your black body. And if that daughter went on and was forced to have sex with another white man, such that that child had 3 out of its 4 grandparents being white and 1 grandparent set being black, that because it came out of a slave's body, that child was enslaved for their entire life. Where are those monuments? Where's that history? Explaining how slavery was an inheritance that white people forced on to black people. Where is that history? Where are those executions of entire lives and opportunities? And crimes that were committed and never prosecuted because slaves weren't considered to be legal persons. Where is that? Ad hom? Yeah, I'll take that. Ad hominem. Thank you, Trans Gamer Girl. Bruce, the whole thing is erroneous. Appeal to authority. Oh, do I have that? No. Appeal to authority. Got that one. Oh, you guys are so good. Yes, accompanying statements as though they were, yes, based on fact. All educators indoctrinate. Hasty generalization much? Yes. Also super important, Montesquieu was talking about governance, not about a person's own judgment. Okay. I think this whole video is poisoning the well. Yeah, I'll take that one. Poisoning the well. It is demonizing the left's critique without, and for instance, calling us, like, we want to teach kids to be executioners. So I'll take that as well. Brilliant.
Because no one has bothered to teach them the nuance, complexity, and context that is history.
See, now these white men, I get, like they said all men are created equal and endowed with the rights by their creator, and then they own slaves. So how do we justify this with nuance, complexity, and context? Oh, I know what we're going to say is, a lot of white men decided it was in their economic interest to perpetuate slavery, and the other white men who disagreed didn't have the balls to stand up to them on the basis of morality. They were moral cowards. They decided they would rather sacrifice the lives of other people that they didn't know and never had to look at or really deal with in order to be more comfortable for themselves. They were willing to throw generations under the bus in order to secure rights for a group of exclusive elites that was protected from any kind of challenge by their wealth, their social class, and their sex. Is that the kind of complexity, nuance, and context you're looking for? The justifications of oppression?
It also breeds arrogance.
Sorry, just this plummy liar who is demonizing and lying on the left is going to lecture us about arrogance when he isn't even citing any sources or holding himself up to the basic standards of academic requirements. He's a fraud. He is a fraud and a hack and a liar and a racist and a sexist and an apologist for genocide and crimes against humanity. But We're the ones who are arrogant. Oh my God.
I know things these people did not know, therefore I am better than they were.
Yeah. I'm sorry but that's true. Insofar as their knowledge base is better. They have a better perspective. If you take a position of liberty and justice for all, and you critique people who denied others liberty and justice for all, and you want to expand it, yeah, you're morally superior. Sorry, it's just true. I am morally superior to Churchill, because I'm not responsible for genocides and making people suffer. I'm morally superior to Abraham Lincoln, because, well, I want to say, yeah, he freed the slaves. He was still racist AF. Or George Washington, yeah. That's the whole point of trying to create a better union. What, you think? Do you think the founding fathers were arrogant because they said that they wanted to, reorganize power in such a way that it was more democratically organized than a sort of like a absolutist position of the divine right of kings? Do you not think that they thought that they were morally better than that? Than the kings and the power structure? Of course they did. Lies.
They have nothing to teach me. In fact, I must teach them. And down comes the statue.
You're acting like these statues are somehow precious, more precious than human beings. This is the other thing, too. They're more concerned with preserving blobs of metal that represent racist people than in actually improving the lives of the people, of anyone today. This is what they're concerned about, the representation, the propaganda rescuing people who committed crimes against humanity, more than actually worrying about people today and what they have to say. They don't care about people. They care about preserving power.
A new, better history must take the place of the old one.
Well, a history that is more complete, yes. We know that there is a big problem in history, this sort of great man framework, great man theory of history, that tends to put people like Napoleon and individual men, of course, usually, so occasionally you get a woman, but they become like the focal point of history, and they don't look, and there's no analysis of other things that came into play. So yeah, we can do a more complete history that includes the experience of Black people who were enslaved and how their existence was at that time, and how the issue of slavery played into other parts of American politics. And because it's more complete, it's better. Something that is more sophisticated and well-developed and complete is better than something that's not. I mean, if you care about education, if the idea is, if the metric is, do people understand accurately the past and how it shaped where we are today? You can't do that by whitewashing slavery. Can't. So yeah, a better history is a fuller history.
In America, this impulse has culminated in the 1619 Project.
Yeah, imagine that. Historians or people who want to look specifically at the experience of people who were enslaved because they have been under-researched by history, because they have been underrepresented or underrepresented in educational content, and therefore people don't see slavery. They're like, oh, they know, yeah, slavery existed, but they don't really see how it connects to anything. I know that you find this very threatening. False equalization? All right, yeah, I'll do that one. Sounds good.
An initiative started by the New York Times and now in schools everywhere,
Good.
Which attempts to make the arrival of the first African slaves into the American colonies the foundational date of the American Republic.
I don't know if that's the case, and I don't trust him because he's not quoting anyone. But if they want to take as their perspective the experiences of Black people in America, then yeah, that's when they first arrived. So that's when history starts from them on this continent, and then you follow it through. So I don't think, again, I would be really surprised. Let me put let's just look this up. 1619. I think this is a lie, because I can't imagine people would talk about a republic when they were still colonies. 16019 project. Forgot the project. I mean, I just want to let's see what it says. It's a long-form historical revisionist project revisionist and not like changing history. You're reintroducing contrary evidence or reinterpreting the past. Aims to reframe the history, placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the center of the national narrative. Yada, yada, yada. Lots of racists are offended. I don't see anything here about... It's just the 400th anniversary of the first enslaved people arriving in America. Re-examination of the legacy of slavery in the United States. I don't see anything here about America wasn't a democracy until Black people made it one. Yep, you could make that argument very easily. Capitalism is brutal. American capitalism is brutal. Yeah, I'm going to call lies on this. Slippery slope incoming? Yeah, we've got that already.
1776, the American Revolution. In the new history, that was just about protecting the founders' slave interests.
I mean, that was part of it. I mean, they created a government that made, first of all, 1776, when we talk about the Declaration of Independence, what you're leaving out is that the revolutionaries did not allow slaves to participate or free Blacks to participate. They refused to even arm free Blacks to participate. They could be in the Revolutionary War, but they had to play an instrument because they didn't trust Black people with a gun. Right? So, yes, I would say the just in here is a lie added by Prager, but it is undeniable that while arguing for their own rights as equal beings created by a deity of some kind, that they are also denying the humanity of other people. It's also the case that it was, for the British, a propaganda. It was a tactic that they would offer freedom, which sometimes they lied about, to the slaves of the enslaved people in order to recruit them against the American revolutionaries. If you don't understand that dynamic, that the American revolutionaries were actively trying to prevent Black people from participating in the emancipation of the colonies, and that it was the British who were offering freedom from slavery to the enslaved people in America, then you're not going to truly understand the dynamics of the Revolutionary War. And it was absolutely about securing their rights to own other people. That's part of it.
These men, some of the most remarkable humans to have lived at any time.
The sexual predator, Thomas Jefferson? Again, having a good idea doesn't make you a great person. Having, writing something eloquently that only applies to you in an elite group does not make you a great person. It means you're a person who had a great idea. But in this case, he was also a sexual predator. So again, you want to whitewash all of the evil things he did because he plagiarized from John Locke.
Are to be understood simply by their attitude towards this one issue.
Yeah, because you never deal with their attitudes toward this one issue at any other point.
The 1619 Project seeks to portray America, the freest, most prosperous nation in world history.
For white men. For white men. This is it. And now white women too, increasingly with white feminism in the 1970s. But this is the whole point. America was only ever free for white propertied men. If you were a Native person living in America, you were not free. If you were a woman, if you were a white woman, you were not free. If you were a woman of color, you were not only not free, but you could be, violated by white men, and there would never be a process for you to get justice. So for whom was this country free? A small group of elites who kept power within them, that narrow little band of class, of religion, nexus of class, religion, and sex and race, right? So you're lying when you're saying that it's free. The vast majority of people who lived in America after the Revolutionary War were not free. It was run by a cabal of elites on the backs of the work and labor of everybody else. That's the truth. That's the truth. And we have been trying to move towards everyone having those rights ever since, and you're trying to stop us.
As exceptional only in one respect, insofar as being exceptionally bad.
Its entire wealth was built on stealing people's labor, their lives, and their land. It was pure theft for centuries, and all of that wealth and material benefit aggregated to a small group of elites who patted themselves on the back to say how great they were. How can you call that moral? Can't we can be better than that. This is the thing. Progressives critique this because we want to be better than what they lied to themselves and said about how equal they were and how free they were, how free the country was, when they were lying to themselves and they were basically justifying their power holds over other people through using the power of the state.
This is a purposefully destructive view of history.
That's what you're teaching. You're teaching a purposefully destructive view of history by whitewashing the crimes against humanity and saying that these unjustified structures are just fine, and if you're complaining about them, you're the problem. You're not only being destructive of the past, you are destroying people's lives now by perpetuating a racist, sexist, patriarchal propaganda machine for no other reason really than you personally benefit from it. Like, where would you be where you are if you were born into a family that had been descended from slaves and whose wealth had been destroyed by white people in the Tulsa destructions, and you grew up in the projects because you've had no opportunity to inherit wealth from generation to generation because only white people can do that, Douglas? Shut your mouth. Shut your ignorant mouth.
It is one intended to pull down rather than to build up.
No, it's trying to build up other people who have been pulled down by the power structures imposed on us by Christian white men. Again, I know you find that threatening because you fit that demo, but you are not the only one who gets to have all of these rights and benefits. Unless, of course, you're against democracy and you're against egalitarianism and you don't believe in liberty and justice for all. But for those of us who actually want to expand those principles, then we have to be able to look in the past at all the failures and call that out and be better. But you don't want that.
A healthy, humane, and in the truest sense liberal mind does not view history as a mere playpen for our moral judgment.
Why not? Why is history somehow guarded off from our ability to critique it? Is it because the people, the winners of history, wrote a history very favorable to themselves and put up statues to how great they were, and that money was funded by the people that they stole their labor, lives, and land from, and used tax dollars to celebrate themselves with public statues, and wrote narratives that focused on their contributions but downplayed their sexual predation, their exploitation, their violation of treaties in America, the fact that the United States government could not be trusted when it signed treaties with the native peoples? Really? We can't judge that? Sure we can. I know you don't want us to because you don't like the implications of what happens when we do apply modern higher moral standards to an immoral past. But that doesn't mean we can't do it.
It recognizes that people in the past acted on the information they had just as we do today.
No. We can look back at people who knew right from wrong and chose to compromise their morals and call them out for that. We can look at people who chose to perpetuate unfair, unjust systems and call them out for that. They are morally accountable for the moral decisions they made. And you want to make them exempt because you want to whitewash slavery and genocide.
Sure, it would have been nice if the founders of America had abolished slavery in its constitution.
You mean it would have stopped generations of crimes against humanity? Murder, torture, sexual assault, kidnapping, human trafficking, and not to mention the idea that slavery is inherited. Like, it would have been nice. That's like saying it would have been nice if the Nazis wouldn't have murdered 12 million people, but more people died. I mean, we condemn the Holocaust. If we can judge the Holocaust as a moral blot on the people who participated in it and this power structure that brought it around, why can't we apply that same moral framework to a genocide because it was done by white guys that you like? I don't see it. I don't see it.
Some, in fact, tried very hard to do so. But had they been unwilling to compromise, there would be no Constitution and no United States.
You don't know that. You don't know that. Yeah, there was an issue of slavery. Imagine what would have happened if people who opposed slavery actually stood up for enslaved peoples and said, nope, this is an issue. And then you had a situation where, yeah, there were two nations and there were free states. And then well, let's face it, the North was more for freedom. The Southern economy, as we saw, couldn't substantiate itself on its own. So, no, you don't know what would have happened. I mean, the idea that, oh yeah, well, we just had to have a bunch of people murdered and live their lives in slavery and suffer. And, it would have been nice if that wouldn't have happened, but, you are a psychopath. You are a sociopath. I wonder about your ability to feel empathy to anything other than what you personally want and feel gratified by.
All the sacrifices of the revolution would have been lost.
What about all the sacrifices that the enslaved people made in order for that revolution to culminate in the material gains and legal rights of the people who were exploiting them? You only ever look at it from the position of white men. You never question what were the experiences of women, what were the experiences of the enslaved people, what were the experiences of the indigenous people. You only ever identify with the oppressors. And that is why you're so invested in defending them, because you see yourself in that and you identify with the need to oppress people for your own benefit. Maybe that's what's really good.
So a compromise balancing the interests of the northern states and the southern states was reached.
You mean white men negotiated between themselves about how to represent brown bodies in their power grab so that the white men would be able to use it to their advantage when it came to purposes of the census, but then the white men who were worried about that imbalance of power to other white men, maintained the fact that those people who counted for the census didn't count as human beings for the purposes of being under the law or American citizens. Seriously, you are evil, Douglas Murray. You are evil.
It would have been nice if the Japanese had surrendered before atom bombs were
Irrelevant.
dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but they didn't.
What do you call that? Is that a red herring? I don't think... Oh, we've got a red herring already. Another red herring.
President Truman had to make his decision based on the information he had at the time.
I don't remember anyone talking about statues of Truman. So what does this have to do with your main point about history? Your little complaints and whines.
That an Allied invasion of the Japanese home island would cost at least 1 million lives, both American and Japanese.
This is, again, irrelevant to the idea of history and celebrating people who were committing crimes against humanity today. Right? This is garbage.
Of course, the woke mind abhors these subtleties.
No. Like, one, it's a false analogy. Red herring. You're a liar and a sociopath because you can only ever empathize with people who look like you or share your interest. Confusing cause and effect. Ooh, would love that one. Yeah, where did I put my pen? I have to find another pen. Confusing cause and effect. I'll put that one down too. So the only person here who doesn't understand subtlety and nuance is the man who can only see things from the point of view of the white male oppressors.
Knows that it is right, and that everybody before our current age, year 0, should have known better. Anyway, they were...
No, we're saying we know better now and we're not going to continue to cover for this crap. That never comes up, the idea that we shouldn't celebrate genocidal maniacs or people who committed genocides. Does that shock you that we shouldn't celebrate people who did genocides, Douglas Murray?
We're all bigots. Why should we give them any benefit of the doubt, let alone admire them or learn from them?
Yeah, you can learn from someone without having a statue to them. You can learn from someone by actually telling their complete story of who they were as a person, and not just make them out to be like some sort of demigod who only ever did good things. You can talk about the complexity that people with good ideas can still do awful things, and you have to balance both of those parts of their personality to have the full picture. So who's really engaging in the propaganda here? You are, Douglas.
Well, maybe because, like everyone else, the great figures of the past did the best they could under the circumstances in which they found themselves.
You don't know that. You don't know that. Again, oh, I couldn't help do a genocide. I was just doing the best I could. Oh, I couldn't help sexually exploiting the woman I've enslaved for my entire life. But hey, I'm Thomas Jefferson, and I wrote some cool lines, and I did some cool bills, and so can we just like call it even? Like, I'll just continue to do my thing, and basically RAPE this woman for my entire life, for her entire life. But, you know, I wrote some documents that people liked. So, yeah, enslavement and sexual exploitation. That's a trade-off, right? Idiot.
That their efforts largely succeeded is why we are here.
You might be, white man. Their efforts of passing on, stealing other people's land and wealth and benefiting from it, you know, including the merchants over in the UK who participated in the slave trade and brought in materials created by slaves and then sold it back to the slave-owning countries, and you accumulated that wealth, and you legally, white man, could inherit. Women couldn't, people of color couldn't, native peoples couldn't. That's why you're here. Your privilege, your power, your all of that stuff came at the expense of other people's lives. And now we're pointing that out. So, who is this we, white man? You're talking about people who were denied the ability to pass on material wealth from generation to generation because they weren't people. That's not where
When someone tried to give Sir Isaac Newton credit for his world-changing discoveries in physics, the great man demurred. He said he was only able to achieve what he did by standing on the shoulders of the giants who went before him. Today's left rejects Newton's humility.
You liar! God, you're a liar! He just lies. He just lies. He's evil. He really is amoral and immoral. It just really cannot be honest with himself or his audience by the looks of it.
It doesn't believe that we stand on anyone's shoulders.
Hello? Have you looked at the celebration of Harriet Tubman being added to the $20 bill? Have you looked at Black History Month? Have you looked at Women's History Month? You know what those are attempts to do? Those are attempts to actually pick up the people from history that your kind of perspective have left behind, to see where we have come from because of their work. So no, we're not the ones whitewashing history. We're the ones trying to reclaim the fullness of history and look at the people who were marginalized and who were not taught to read and who are not allowed an education and who are not considered citizens or even legal persons under the law, and their contributions, because we are standing on their shoulders. So no, stop lying on us, Douglas. You are crap.
It imagines that if we could only liberate ourselves from the dusty, misguided, and misinformed ideas of the past.
Yeah, if we stop replicating sexism, racism, patriarchal structures, this white privilege, then other people's lives will be better. You'll maximize the utility. You'll maximize eudaimonia if you stop preserving, protecting, and replicating white supremacist power structures, patriarchal white supremacy. Yeah, that's just a fact.
Then we might see further, fly still higher.
What does that even mean?
Is wrong. Divorced from our past, we would be utterly lost.
No one's saying we want to be divorced from it. We want to be honest about it. We want to be honest about what actually happened and not just focus on the people who benefited from the exploitation. We want to talk about the exploitation that provided those people with their material wealth, with their ability to control the state and force others to live in an illiberal, undemocratic life so that they could enjoy things more. That's what we want to look at.
We would not rise, but plummet. We would be...
No, we'd actually have an expanded liberty, and you wouldn't just be able to ride by in your plummy accent and whatever your parents passed down from you, and probably like, what was your education? Let's just do a little Douglas Murray. Let's see. Did he pull himself up by his bootstraps? Did he? Yes. All right. So let's have a look. Early life. He was raised in London. Oh, look at this, by a civil servant. So taxpayers funded your house, right? Your dad did some work, but it basically came from a civil servant. His ancestral home on the island of Lewis is one other brother. He would go to his father's ancestral home on the Isle of Lewis. You are seriously educated at West Brigford School, comprehensive. Is that a private school in the American terms, y'all? Oh, and he went to Eton. Oh, I love it when Eton college graduates lecture those of us who haven't spent their entire lives surrounded by ancestral homes, whose family, whose upbringing was paid for by taxpayers' money, and who hobnobbed with the powerful and rich about what history should be. You are offensive to me on so many levels, Douglas Murray.
Be forced to start again with far less insight and with far poorer examples as our guides.
Say, I meant to rule all of you plebs. I don't appreciate you questioning the basis of my power. Bow down to me. I am a white Anglo man. I deserve this because of God and history. You're crap.
Ironically, thanks to the statue destroyers, the great figures of the past have never looked greater.
Yes, so you are really pro the exploitation of brown people. You want to lionize those who exploited others. I mean, at least you're honest that you're a Nazi, basically. Like, inside, you're really about fascism, and you're anti-democracy and anti-equality.
I'm Douglas Murray.
And I'm a piece of crap.
Author of The Madness of Crowds.
Fear the populace, they might think for themselves. It's like one of those, oh, your highness, the peasants are revolting. Yes, they certainly are. You could just...
For Prager University.
The propagandists. So there you go. An easy show, an easy debunking show. So, what have we got here on our bingo? I think we've got bingo multiple times over here. Got begging the question, straw man argument, sweeping generalization, slippery slope, hasty generalization, false analogy, appeal to tradition, misdirection, red herring, either or fallacy, ad hominems, appeal to authority, poisoning the well, false equalization, confusing cause and effect, and shifting the issue. And those are just the ones that I actually noticed. So, Douglas Murray is a hack, is a racist, is a sexist, and basically is anti-democratic and anti-freedom and anti-equality. He is for unjustified hierarchies and whitewashing crimes against humanity. So, very on brand for Prager. Right, you lot. I am going to. Tom has a new video on madness of crowds. Ah, okay. Who's that, Tom? Which Tom is that? Can you say? Katsumi in the chat. Alrighty dighty. Well, this was fun. I honestly didn't have like anything prepared, and when I don't, I just dip into like, what complete crap has Prager you done lately to deal with it. So thank you for letting me be a little bit on the lazy side. I appreciate that all. I think that's it. So I will be back on the back on Kevin's channel, Happy Hour on Monday. Wednesdays and Fridays, usually I show up for guest stuff. And if you don't have enough, you just want to hear my dulcet tones and my voice, you can always go over to my D&D channel, where we're going to be gaming in, 1 o'clock now? We start at 7, 6 hours, about 6 hours from now. All right, thank you guys for stopping by, each and every one of you. I do appreciate your time and attention. Special hi to Bruce, who's a patron of mine. I haven't checked my Patreon lately, but thank you. And also, all the regulars who turn up and support my channel, support my content. It's nice to watch Kevin grow by leaps and bounds. And I know, especially now with the COVID situation, he needs the money. I've been not doing a lot of videos on my channel because I'm spending about between 6 and 9 hours on Kevin's channel, which I'm not complaining about. I'm just like explaining why my video output's not been that much since COVID started. But I do want to, I am trying to get through the propaganda, how propaganda works, philosophy book, trying to find some ways to operationalize it. But anyway, we'll see how that comes along for next week. So go find something else to do. And I'll see you guys same time back here. No matter what it says on the channel, the start time, it's always the same time every week. Sometimes I get it wrong. So we will catch you guys later. I've been Kristi. Y'all have been awesome. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for your participation in the bingo. Be well, be healthy, and have a great day, a great evening, or a great morning or afternoon, wherever it is, whenever it is you are. All right, till next time. Mwah. Bye.